The man, the myth, the legend, Stephen A. Smith, the $10 million man to be exact after his recent contract with ESPN on April 8, 2019, the highest paid on-air talent in ESPN history. But how did it happen? What did it take for the legend of Stephen A. Smith to come into fruition? That's why today we are going to analyze the story of Stephen A. Smith, including how he started his career, his approach today, and what makes him iconic. Stephen A. Smith started off as a newspaper writer for his school newspaper before the age of social media. Back then, the teaching was to work for a license to editorialize and give commentary, and Stephen A.'s goal was to become a sports columnist. He then served as an intern and editorial assistant for publications like the Winston-Salem Journal, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and the Greensboro News and Record, where he started with calendar items like school lunch menus from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. and high school sports from 7 p.m. until midnight. Over time, Stephen A. got the role of a high school writer for the New York Daily News. He tried to get himself involved to accumulate practical experience and publish clips to sell his work to employers. This would display his tenacity and commitment for the publications interested in his services.
Because I knew and imagined that an employer, if he's looking at somebody that has a laissez-faire attitude per se towards being in that industry and doesn't necessarily want it, I know every employer wants someone who wants it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. If you are in a position where you hire somebody, the number one trait that you want to see outside of their obvious ability is the want it factor. And I knew that by showing my resolve and my tenacity as a person that was willing to work for free, as a willing to do numerous internships and stuff like that,
yep.
What could they say? And that's what I did. So when I showed up to an employer for an internship or whatever, I remember when I first started in the business, we had folks with resumes. I had 250 published clips coming out of college. How are you going to beat that?
You got an edge over everybody.
I got the edge.
When asked about occupational resumes today, Stephen A. said it can be found as both easier and harder in certain aspects. It's seen as easier today because there are more convenient ways to generate material to show employers. It's also seen as harder today, though, in the sense that this method can be abused in the modern day, which poses for more competition. Stephen A. always had interest in politics as well, but he was claimed to not be as specialized in that field. He does pride himself in being a master of communicating, as he is confident and shows no nerves on camera.
I really believe everyone's in my way. Literally. I mean, in simpler layman's terms, I walked around and I've always believed like I'm the Michael Jordan of this industry. When I'm on the air, I'm the one that will make you want to hear from me. I don't care who I'm on the air with. I don't care who it is. It does not matter to me. By the time I finish speaking, I am the one that you're going to want to listen to. That's my attitude.
He frequently gets many phone calls about where they need him and when. This small time frame for availability is why Stephen A. says that 90% of the time he doesn't see any other sports reporters' takes on television other than First Take, which could lead him to research on their takes if he's about to make an appearance with another show. He mentions the importance of knowing your role in the media. News reporters need to report, columnists need an angle to attack an editorial perspective, and First Take is the complete combination. The first step of Stephen A.'s process of displaying his thoughts is to acquire as much information as possible. Stephen A. often reads the New York Daily News, the LA Times, Washington Post, ESPN.com, Yahoo, and other publications. For specific athletes, he typically goes to local publications to see who covers them every day. For example, before First Take, Stephen A. covered Allen Iverson every day for the first 10 years of his career. It's better to approach a person like Stephen A. about Allen Iverson for the 2001 NBA Finals over an NBA reporter that studies all the teams and players to the same extent. The second step is to formulate an opinion. Stephen A. never shies away from his thoughts, no matter if they are perceived as right or wrong. And the third step is to hear other people's opinions to see if you missed anything. Sometimes in Stephen A.'s case, he gets overly excited in the topic and might intervene in the thoughts of another person on the panel, like Max Kellerman, his current partner on First Take, before their idea is finished. But that just leads into why Stephen A. Smith is iconic. His opinion is portrayed very strongly. Stephen A. has many tendencies while on the air. One that is frequent is his mentions of race in certain topics. This is sometimes seen as contradictory. It all just depends on if it's appropriate to the topic at hand.
Think for 1 second about what transpired. you're seeing footage of your brother laying on the ground, a cop pointing in his face, wondering whether or not your brother at that particular moment, what he was feeling, whether or not he was going to survive, and recognizing that not only as terrifying as that was for your brother, but it's also something that so many black folks can relate to.
Let's just call it what it is. LeBron James doesn't want to say it, so I'll say it for him. African-American players are held to a different standard. The reality is that in the sport of football and basketball, you're expected to be appreciative of your position. How dare you take the bull by the horn and take control of your own future?
He always shows insane emotion to his favorite teams and stays legitimate about them.
If the man is trying to get fired, if he gets fired, ladies and gentlemen, he gets to walk out the door and keep his money. If he quits, he doesn't get to keep his money. And Phil right now is damn near like Melo, all about his money. Well, actually, he's not like Melo, because at least Melo goes out there and tries to play. I hope that he's lying, Max Kellerman, because if this happens, if this happens, Max, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I just don't know. I just don't know.
The New York Knicks look like straight trash. The New York Knicks were so embarrassing last night. Sanitation workers wouldn't have wanted to show up in Madison Square Garden. They couldn't take that smell. You see them. Points per game differential, 29th in the NBA, dead last in offensive efficiency, dead last in field goal percentage shooting, 28th. That's third worst in the league in assists per game. They're trash! They stink! And ladies and gentlemen, just for the interest of full disclosure, ESPN Radio in New York City is the flagship station for the New York Knicks, and I'm still telling you, they stink!
Most importantly, Stephen A. Smith has many famous quotes of high intensity and fast talking that are known worldwide, regardless if you follow sports or not.
Michael Jordan, how you gonna beat me?
You know what?
I gotta hear how you gonna beat me.
Pick your poison.
How's he gonna beat me?
Why are you saying stuff like this?
Tell me how's he gonna beat me.
Why are you doing this? Why are you? Is this another marketing tool of yours?
Check this out.
What?
Everybody used to say who's the best, Michael Jordan or
Who did you
LeBron.
think was the best?
They
Who did
said,
you think
who's
was the best?
Kobe or LeBron?
Who did you think was the best?
Guess what the story is now? Who's better, LeVar or Michael
Ain't
Jordan?
nobody think about no damn LeVar.
Yes, they are. Look at you. Who we talking about?
Think about no LeVar.
Me and LeVar.
Kwame Brown is gone. The City of Angels, Hollywood, just should be celebrated. Throw a parade already, whether you win a championship or not. This man was a bona fide scrub. He can't play. No disrespect whatsoever, but I'm sorry to tell everybody the truth. The man cannot play the game of basketball.
Consider that question blasphemous. I apologize. Walt Frazier, blasphemous. For Vlade Divac to utter such blasphemy, he's got the nerve, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to echo such blasphemous nonsense. Just blasphemy.
That's the full story of Stephen A. Smith and his process in the media. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you don't, tell him Stephen A.
Stay on.